Other thing here is that when your understanding of emptiness is combined or supported by altruistic mind, then that becomes even much more stronger antidote for subtlest, or highest level of obscuration, cognitive obscuration.
Oda dus chenada kanji kemro sanke tengi top dan rodo mandro singindi susu ngone kanji rangi ngarche ki dipala ani gesim gone kemro sanke chebeina ta tengi top la dugo ares.
So with this practice, of purification, by using the basis of reliance of refuge practice in altruistic mind, with a sense of regret, then that becomes truly the first power or first force of the four.
다 님북군이 좀 metobla 저런 좀 찾아 집에 거네다 ngasa기 난다 라메생 nga사기 난다 아니 넘바 간디진 돈룸 아니 돌로룸 오다 이담 가기 바기 다게 땅룸 다 간디지면 되지 찾아 님부터 바기 저런 좀 참을 거네 오다 두스집에 있나다 이 님북군인 쪽을 또 가지 이빠다였던다.
님베톱라고 나 땡게톱체 님베톱체 나버 수인집에도 님베톱라더라.
님베톱래. 님베 수인집에톱잖아. 그래 님베톱잖아. 그래. 오다 님불라 좋아지 답에 뭐네 저런 좀 상황네. 이빠답에 채도 그나 니제도 스제바이나 된두고 알았어.
So the first power, as you know, force of reliance or basis, and second is force of overcoming misdeed through antidotes. So here antidotes refers to any kind of practices that we ordinarily do as a practitioner, recitations of mantra, holding and following or committing to vows, and doing practice of generation of meditational deities, those contemplative practices. All of this doing with in its entirety, meaning those three component or stages: preparation, actual practice, and conclusion. So doing any of these practices with these three parts, then that becomes a practice of misdeed, overcoming misdeed through antidotes.
Then Nepal lardo bestobsda 진짜 미쳐베다 점선 땡야들스 균치기면 선대당원에 바게 네발에 디발라 통제 아니 진짜 균이 미쳐에 점선 땡야들스.
Next one, force of not repeating the mistake. That is actually kind of making a commitment or decision of not repeating the same negative activities that you have done before. So it's a really kind of a commitment and decision of not repeating it again.
아니다 담아된 교바제야래 교슴 충복월에 교바면은 샤비 미다베스 당원에 니기송래 가서 잡아주게 데몬나야래 교바면은 샤비 미다베스 당원에 가지랑게 지사사베 디바텔라 에니베 견도 통오고네 교슴 충복 교슴 요해야 되나 에니베 즉 기승도와 미숨기 투쟁기 제지자네 지 좀 대사바지 지 나네 에네베 내초초 요알지 지 더둥 루부탕탕이나 루부탕탕 여긴들 가주지 다티 에두 콩도 송알 라데네 니바이 거다가시 에 시알랑 네바존지 배 인교바키 그러고 어다 덴데딘 인교바지 구고래 숨도.
And then fourth, force of repentance or force of regret. In the joyful prayer or prayer of joy, Zapiti, a great master, he mentioned that there is no purification of confession without a sense of regret. So sense of regret or sense of remorse is must for the purification or confession practices. And the level of regret that you needed, as we have mentioned this before, the level, we use this kind of example: three people, and all of them have taken poison. The first one is already dead. Second is on the process of dying, and the third person, healthy, but he has already taken a poison. So you can see how much, the sense of urgency or sense of regret that he has, that he shouldn't have taken a poison. Since he did, what he is going to suffer, he already knows. So that kind of regret is needed in this practice of purification or confession.
어다 밀레 제베도 저게 위타 프로젝트 발란 교바치네 따바 인저 송도아 디파 따야데 교바들은 교슴 투 춤부지나 이니 따그레스 때마다 따그 말해서 송도아 어다 때 인디가라 교슴데 시우게 첨버리 데라 에딘베 중 서르추베 섭제데 당이 자래야 용도아 다 단다 준준 대화지야래 어다 때나라 서르추베 섭제데 따도 다 간지 샤바체니 에니베 니바 따송어달라 서르추바스 거라 어다 두스레 어다 두스
서르추 볼은 갈
서르추베
서르추 볼은 가라
에 디바 균이 메아 차송어다 베 디바 따송어 가자래 난디 회자되는 데는 라면다 통용도 갈라 또 마그날 그 장대기에 냐가요. 땡글도 통해야 냐가요. 땡글도 깨말다 단다 니 집아들었다가 서르추베 섭섭에 상이 용구도 없이.
Also a great Milarepa, he also mentioned that in order to purify negative activities, it cannot happen without sense of regret, sense of remorse. So what we see here is kind of inevitableness of sense of regret for the confession or purification practices. And sometimes we find a usage of another expression. There's a Tibetan word which actually means complete purification or complete kind of cessation. That is has the same meaning of this repentance or remorse. So it is not considered as a kind of fifth or extra power.
뭐다 직당 문에 이니가라 교선대 슈추보지 고고하거든 디기지 통용고 아래 뭐다 간지 만한조 남균 이야 사랑이 주자지 장와이나 디바 카펠도 민로야게 개발이 어려서 송도와 대마도 아주 디바도 수진에 디바지체 미가와지체 딱 룽아지 녀제 가르사바이나 대랑체 수자바이나 디린지 제바나 상인 니차거래 나니가 니디 지차거래 담귤 두스 페르고도 지인디가라 람림데 조나라 숭용도와 아니 lumbi 디바 양나지스 케비 디바 시나 양스데 숭도와 이 가르숭고아래 나랑도 지 디바지체 때랑서로 자용도가라 코 펜네 카펠 펠제네 마우바나 페 디바페 삽춤부시 차르고 와래 이거 사부지 나는 무슨 동할 차고 와래 미 케바 다지 남주 연대긴 지기 그 디바 도스 제고 중앙이나야 아니 그 샤바제 텐디지 에네베 이야르지 사야네 에네베 동아 샤바고네 차차 동샤라 풍부숨베 도스기도 와 와다 도스지는 대원에니 샤바제야 도스지네 간지 고 따마도는 카펠도 민루야 주는가 이거 사부지나 고 페레아메 자고아래 그러니까 갈래갈래 바기 샤바 톱좀 주는데 써니메 바 자고아래 언니 디비 연된데 자자 굽주 꾸르고데 콜레 연된데요 말레스 연데가 찌데데네 샤나 따야 요바데 디비 연된데 저스무도 와도 때인도가라 뭐니 윤도 지 된데게 디바타야기 탑람베고 해야 돼 깨침버리스
So as said before, what is important here is the sense of strong regret or remorse that you have done something wrong for the purpose of purification or confession. And also, there's a consideration of recitation of as many of 100 syllable mantra 21 times daily, and that help not to further kind of multiply negative activity or non-virtues that you created. Otherwise, if you don't recite that, then negative or non-virtuous action that you create today doubles tomorrow, and next after it becomes kind of keeps multiplying. So in the tradition of great stages of path practitioners, Lamrim practice, there's a saying that for foolish, even light non-virtuous activities becomes extremely heavy, but for learned or scholars, even heavy negative activities or non-virtuous activity becomes very light, and that kind of shows the the importance of practice of purification. Somebody who is kind of foolish and not using purification or confession practice, even though they created kind of very slight, small negative activities, but kind of totally ignoring it, it becomes really intense and heavy. At the end, one has to suffer a lot. But on the other hand, somebody who is learned, wise, even created intense negative activity, but applying all these kind of purification or confession practices, at the end they can eliminate all negative activities. And as we say often that for negative, non-virtuous, unwholesome activity, almost like 99%, almost 100, 99% is like negative. There's nothing good in that, but there's only small goodness, or one goodness that is, it can be purified if you apply confession or purification practices. So therefore, it is kind of the point here is that it would be good. It makes sense if you kind of engage in these practices of purification for your non-virtuous or negative activities that has performed or created before.
너차지단 디무숨 대길레니 메가와 텔레 nganro 탐제 중 저숭도와 보다 둥알 탐제 중 nganro 탐제 중 보다 두수 숭도와 보다 이 인도가라 맞아 둥알 만들나 간지 메가가라 에니페 님이 따와데 슈 개첨부 차르 너차지단 디무 대길레니 가와 텔레와 탐제 중 저숭도와 보다 이 인도가라 곰볼루투 다가서 남베 케바사 마레 뭐네 남지 근데 다 천리 마마보제 곰불루 천리 바레제도 승구도 웃으데 여름 승구도 와서 뭐네 냠렘밥 할레비 예다셋 통보였는데 근데 남지 있는데 공기 때 송리 인도가라 즉 말아서 대완데 둥알민데 원장 둥알지 바가 둥알 민도이나 둥알기 간디시 용구에도 마셔지니 배로 곰배원게 미고라 양양 주고 와래 암암 슈슈긴 주고 와래 디타 가야기 단다 고갑 민남지 여기가 디 가야기 고갑지 옆에 가도다 고갑때 단진 쪽한테 뺐네 전부 자리 와래 대화 가수지나 대화 가수 대화도 와래 대화 주발라 그것도 뭐래 대화용라 그것도 뭐래 개위 규들라 가서 몽배원은 마시배 왕기 지 제고 삼나 배 리승이 냉엘링인 디베 왕기 배때가 지식 잡고도 와 거기서 되겠지 다 준준의 송하다 뭐말에 대화한테 디무배 랑게 대화는 잘들 좀 세야 돼 뭐마 송되어래 어다 되겠지 맞아 냠nen지 양내양도 삼다 즉 빼지는 셰샤자야 마임바 가서 툭툭지 즉 알리리 케트버지 마주이나 시 컴포 가서 지시기에나 되게 뱅겨 말에 가지 최당 셈니 벌라 파타 메바지 전에 랑기 셈들라니 베 개와티 디버체다 게 체쇼리 어떻게 여름이 숨도 안 맞는데 게시 디어 말때 여름이 디숭야데 다가서 말에 내민보래 오네 도시 제바이나 셈나 즉 ziki sinde rang bezo le tuya je mato di sani ken yomare namni chaban bae ne yomare di indikala bezo chawade penne chamores
Choosing awesome, but
deni jachan mare.
so we'll stop after this. Nagarjuna, a great master, as you know, scholar, he himself has also mentioned about this, that non-virtuous, unwholesome, negative activities are extremely kind of powerful. He mentioned that out of negative attachment, hatred, and anger, hatred and ignorance, arises negative activities, non-virtuous, and because of non-virtuous, it kind of throws us in suffering, in the lower realms. And on the other hand, he mentioned that positive activities arises from non-attachment, non-hatred, non-ignorance, and therefore brings happiness at the end, or higher rebirth. So if you don't want a suffering, we need to understand that, understand the fact that by creating a negative activity, that brings us a suffering. We need to understand our own origin or sources of our own suffering. And with that understanding, then really kind of working hard not to create, that kind of seed of suffering for ourselves. And so what Nagarjuna said here, Nagarjuna is not only a great scholar, but great practitioner, and nowadays even he's considered as a kind of a great, a scientist. So the problem with us, as we always talk about, we all want happiness, and we don't want suffering. But even with that kind of innate desire, but what we do, in fact, is we always kind of, out of our habituation, familiarity, we keep planting the seed of our own suffering. And that is rightly mentioned in Shantideva's text, A Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. Although we want happiness, but out of ignorance, we run after kind of planting the seed of suffering. And so why we are saying this here is that because this is the moment when we have human intelligence, when we are fully equipped to kind of deal with this kind of our own problem, we need to use this opportunity and do our best to plant the seed of happiness that we so desire, that we so want. And the common fundamental fact in Buddhism is that creating a positive activities, there will be a happiness. And creating a negative activities, result will be always suffering. So, it doesn't matter how much intellectually you discuss, you talk about it, unless and until you kind of really integrate that in your action, there's no benefit in kind of, talking about these great practices. So what we call dry words doesn't help, to bring us happiness. It must be implemented, as His Holiness often kind of advises us. And so again, very common that, kind of understanding in Buddhism, happiness is something that comes from, our own action. It doesn't fall from sky. It doesn't, grow from earth. It is something that should be your own kind of, self-made thing. With that, we'll stop here, and you can ask questions if you have. Yeah.
For meditation, when we do visualizing meditation, and then at the end, is it correct for us to at the end when we have been focused on the object of visualization, at that time, can we change to change our focus on emptiness at that time? Is it correct that way, or we just stay on visualization, and then we do separate meditation on emptiness.
Gomgi mikpo jangay di kola, ane gom mikpo jang ni de muchun thakaran de gore, yan tamala mikpo jangsan tamala thakaro chukduwe la gore, teli yan tongyi kola gom dindishina digirwe la do, gom gyatan shoro, shukul chukduwe di tongyi kola yan gom daw jab, den gom di chukduwe la gore, yan di mayimba yan mikpo khari jangwa thakaran muchun che tongyi kola ma gomba, dadinde gom dos gyanda digirwe la do gyabtan.
미바 짱스디갈라다 두신 베브자 미바즈네 코랑 코들레 미바 제야지 여러 와다 파기네 대선서라시다 때마다 양미 니지존에 니지 미남 짱야마다 송이 곰디갈라 송이 반 진상 일도지네 아니 배 가자든도 까sam기 송성기 넘바 따가랑 곰기로 맞았대 송이는 미바 짱스에다 당했을 때 좀 지어 말했어 니지는 다 니지 곰스데 니지 미남 캬야들 마다 니지베 지상 일도지노 곰야다까지 말해 랑게 선데 니지 몰라 봐 드로이고네 니 미남 캬고네 니 랑게 선데 니지 몰라 드로지고 드로트 빠지고
Here Geshe is saying that we don't use that visualization in the meditation of emptiness generally. It depends on what meditation you do. You can have your visualization kind of like meditation in kind of falling of nectars, from meditation deity to yourself and therefore purification. Or when you do practice of meditation and compassion, you do a visualization and then kind of transforming your mind eventually into compassion. But in the understanding or meditation of emptiness, it's really kind of unlike the method or compassion meditation and compassion. In emptiness, it's really kind of you are focusing on the merely a cessation of intrinsic or inherent or true existence of phenomena, and then merely cessation, and then kind of single-pointedly kind of staying at that state of mind is meditation of emptiness. So it depends on meditation. Some meditation requires visualization, but in emptiness usually we don't use kind of this word visualization, but you can of course have a meditation on emptiness.
지금 지지당에 제 가보래 아니 새롭게 차대게들라 곰게디 아니 배 율대 유진진의 곰이야 어디도 수송도 새롭게 차 강가랍니다 바이나다 다음에 또 베시라고 원한다 송이도 베시라고 원한다 새롭게 차다다 율대 유진진의 곰이야 탑기 차다 미남 짱네 아니 배 신남 스디가라 10인 남바데 곰님 에랑게 선데 띵고는 로트와지고네 두스치네 자데 두스지 망제 두순거레스 지마 진진 가는 거야 말시게요 말레스.
So he's saying that he don't know exactly because he don't have experience as well as he doesn't know it well. But the general understanding is that when we meditate using these two separate entity, method and wisdom, in meditation of wisdom, there is always maintenance of a subject and object as a two separate entity. Such as meditation on impermanence, meditation on selflessness, meditation on emptiness. There's a very clear distinction of maintaining two separate entity, your subjective mind, objective target of the meditation. But in the meditation of in the method aspect, then there is no such kind of two separate entity. In fact, practitioners intentionally make your target, for example, compassion or loving kindness. You meditate, and then eventually you are making those two entities into one. Your mind becomes compassion, your mind becomes loving kindness. So there is a kind of a two different approach depending on which you engage method or wisdom.
어떻게 임바다 궁다 열에서 궁다는 무지기 값이 배dom나 동다다면 지상 유도 곰스 잠내니지 모기네 곰스 송열에서 어떤게디 셰데 궁절은 셰거 마다 때마다 가 년도는 시당에 그게 메스.
So what if one is doing the like I said, I don't know much, but what I know, I not explain or may not use the word correctly, but what if one does the meditation that is similar to like deity meditation, but the deities in this case is Chenrezig.
뭐는 지시나 저 저것 걸어 책다다는 하시 다 남유하고 매는 여러 하고 매는 배신 제레시도 곰에 갑라 아니 곰 카리로 자고래라고 서래 카리다 가려고 탄다 곰이 갸다니 돈에 미바 시에서 셔럽 차다 타부 차곰다네 하고 좀 말에는 그 카리스 곰보래라도 남바견 곰보 유유젠 다들 좀 곰보래래
단 제리즈 공부에나 제리즈기 딱 군인 공이야요래 아니 제리즈 송아 된들 되나 야 루지메 비자 미바자요래 된다미다요래
so meditation of like using or meditation of meditational deity then it depends on what kind of meditation you do. It could there are many different forms of ways of doing meditation. You can just simply using a Chenrezig you can just focus on his image or statue or picture and then try to keep that single pointedness and have visualization, or you can just recite mantra and then visualize kind of receiving of nectars and therefore kind of purification. So it can do in any kind of ways that you want. And before that he was kind of making clarification that we talk about two ways of meditation, wisdom and method meditation, that is mentioned in the fourth chapter of the great master Ganden Lhagyama in his text, that emptiness and all those wisdom aspect meditation, one needs to have kind of this separateness of subject and object, while meditation of the method aspect it needs to be kind of coming into one aspect. Any other question? Yeah.
At our last teaching, Geshe-la spoke about the proper method for making a water offering. Would he also discuss the proper timing and method for removing that offering?
추주표에 되어라 남기. 추주표에. 추주표에 표단의 것이라 단계 송소사다. 야 표산에는 마 샤메죠라. 이 샴단의 거는 투주 가도 샴고메 샴단 간도 되고
저기 샴다데 니마또 마게 공들라 샴나디 거레스와. 이 샴메니 딩지 얘기 나다 장마지냐라. 상이 저거양 딩딩 가만드는 주도스루. 아니 티티티티 강가여는 닌루즈 마투지 두세니야 주 닌루즈 루고야테 두스레 아니 그시 양 레가다 때가 잡지 되네 님이나 원다 잡지 엄마홍스 양파기 잡지갑 아니 자네 상이 저게 샴난다 양주 님비 꺄면 엄마홍스데 주 참님비 꺄나 두스나 간지 샴에데 니마 마르 콘데 사마루 콘데 샴구고아레스
at the end of the when you kind of usually the timing is before around sunset time, then you murangta dilo kalo jimbado shoro ma shamdande tadi ya kalo orche gone shamgore wania shamgore ene jige didesina di kalo shamdande lo
dusi dine dusu diade dusi di shameda dusi sham.
So when you look at the altar in the morning when you offer, we always start from right to left, but when you remove or take it down, you start from the opposite end. You start from left to right, one by one pour water back into jar or whatever container that you use, and then sometimes you can wipe it clean, make it dry, and then wrap up in a clean cloth, and then next morning then again you just and if you become too busy and didn't get enough time, then practitioner usually just use kind of sprinkle water reciting Om Ahum kind of quickly. And then next morning, your water offering is already set up, so you just add a bit of water, So that's a way of doing when you don't do a regular,
다때도
offering.
오늘 비지나 다 뒤서저고 맨나 다든지 제가 미세 도수야레스 아니 주대 잠에데 신동어다 장사라든지 슈투나 야보레스 메도든 브라다든지 장사라라 가서 툭툭지.
And that is, of course, as you said, when you are kind of busy and not have enough time, and when you have a water collected back, then it's good to kind of pour that in a flower or plant or trees to kind of not throwing in a trash, rather kind of use it more productive, throw in a more clean places.
아니 때가라 kurkumda tende luthuna telekyang yabore스. kurkum gichu saffron na chi lagda.
And if you can, then to make it more kind of it's good to add some saffron in the water for your offering, but that is not compulsory or necessary. You can just use plain water. Also, thank you. Rāve kurve shingam de pandan de wa mali jungwe ne chere singwa tenjin gyasu yin shabe sede bardo tengyo je jambe pavu chidra kemba gondo sangbo ten de shindu teta kungi jesu talo jen kyawa teta tamje rabdum Tūsum shaben gyawa tamje gi ngoma kangla chodo ngakwa tenda shingewe tsawa digun gya sambo cheche rabdu ki. In the land encircled by snow-white mountains, the source of all happiness and benefits flows in your person, charity, Tenzin Gyatso, remained in his samsara. Just as the Bodhisattva Manjushri attained omniscience and Samanda Bhatta too, so now I to take it these mass supreme manifold. As all the victorious Buddhas are past, present, and future, praise to the Krishna to the Supreme. So now I too dedicate these source of my merit.
Thank you.
Thank you.